Hey, Tec here, and this is going to be a video of some of the knives that I've EDC'd in the past 5 years. The purpose of this video is to show you some different options that are out there, a little bit of nostalgia for knives that are no longer produced or they've started producing them a different way, a little bit of evolution over some knives that were options and other options that came out for those knives, and just to kind of throw some other names you might not be aware of, other manufacturing names you might not be aware of out there, and just to kind of show you the options that are out there. As I said, these are the knives that I have carried over the past 5 years. These are in order from the furthest back that I carried to more recent. And there are some combinations where I would maybe carry this one for a little, then that one for a little, and then vice versa. But mostly these are in order of when I carried them. And these are also knives I picked that I carried for an extended period of time. The only exception to that being my one that I carry now, my current EDC, which I've only been carrying for about 2 months. The rest of these I carried for extended periods of time and had a lot of experience with carrying them. So those are the ones that I wanted to pick out. The first thing you notice is there's a lot of variety here. You got smaller knives that are like 2.75 inch blades, all the way to near micro knives that are like 2-inch blades, all the way up to tank knives that are 3.75 or more inch blades, and then some that are kind of in the middle. You also see differences in locking features, such as frame locks on these, lock back on that and this one. These right here are liner locks, and this one is an axis lock, and the newer one that I carry is an axis lock. And when I open these up, you're going to see all sorts of different styles of blades, such as flat ground, full flat ground, you know, and just different blade shapes and stuff like that. You're going to see different scales from a metal frame to, say, a titanium style frame, to sort of a hybrid G10 metal frame, to G10, all the way to I believe this is Zytel on the Rat 1. Don't crucify me if I'm wrong about that, but this isn't G10, it's something else. And even then, different styles of G10. This is a really fine G10. This is more of a coarse G10. This is a very coarse G10 over here. You know, so in different styles of pocket clips. This one, if you ask me, is backwards, but it's only got the one location you can put that on there. One of the reasons why I moved away from it. But it carries deep, and some of these other ones, like this one and this one, they carry pretty deep, and some of the others are like midway down almost, and they are right here, they don't carry so deep, or they're a lot thicker or a lot thinner. So you just see different designs and setups, and there's a lot of variety, and I think that's good to have some variety in the number of knives that you've carried and tried out. Okay, the first one I want to start out here is the Tec-X, and this is a knife that is distributed by Case, if I'm not mistaken. I think I got it at a Case distributor shop. I did a review on it about 2 years ago, and it was a nice little stopover that I had for a few months of carrying it, it's a nice little knife. It's a little bit bulky for being so small, but it has a nice hollow ground blade to it, sort of a, I guess, kind of a spear point on there. I don't really know. And it has a nice deep pocket clip. I like that. It has sort of the skeletonized pass-through, which makes it really nice to maintain and clean. Some things about it, I wish it had some jimping back here, and this jimping was a bit deeper, maybe on both sides. It was a little bit dull when I got it from the factory when I bought it, so you know, I had to put a little bit of an edge on it, but it was nice to carry this. Very compact, if a little bulky. So the next one I want to talk about is the Byrd Cara II, distributed by Spyderco. This is one of my all-time favorite knives. I really really like this knife. And it's got a great blade shape to it, and one of my favorite things is this jimping right here on both sides. It just digs in real nice. It's got some aggressive G10, which it's not so aggressive you can't get out of pocket, but it feels good in the hand to grip onto. I wish the pocket clip would set up a little bit more so the knife would actually set down a little bit more in the pocket, but it was nice when I carried it. I had no problems. It was a lock back, and you know, as I said when I was at the very beginning of the video, kind of nostalgia looking back on some of these knives. This is designed different now, or at least it looked different to me when I looked at the Spyderco catalog. I don't really know what to put my finger on about it, but I just kind of prefer this older design. If one thing they fixed is this spacer back here not being passed through, I think this should be passed through, may lighten it up. As you can see, like when we're talking about that one, weight on a knife is not really that big a deal to me that I EDC, but if you can lighten a knife, like when we talk about this one, I'll show you what I mean. If you can lighten a knife, go ahead and lighten it. And I really just like this knife. It felt real good to carry it when I carried it, and it came razor sharp from the factory, and it stayed razor sharp. I only had to touch it up every so now and again, and I just really like the Byrd knives in general. It was 8 CRV 13 MOV, and that's a really nice budget steel. And as you can kind of see as we're going down through here, one thing I forgot to mention is there's just differences in the types of steels that are used as well. But this is a pretty good steel, and Spyderco with their Byrd knives really knows how to do it well. Now the next knife is the epitome, in my opinion, of nostalgia for me. Is a out of production knife, is the Kershaw 1950 Tremor, 1950 being the model number. And this was my first assisted opener, and I absolutely loved this knife when I carried it. It had sort of a I don't know what they call that, but you know, like a scimitar or a saber-like knife, kind of Middle Eastern, kind of wrapping back down here and curving back up there. It just had a real nice curve to it, real nice shape, and I really liked it. There were some things I didn't care for. I wish there was jimping right here. This is just right there, would be perfect for it. But there were some other, you know, this jimping down here is really aggressive. I like that. G10 wasn't very aggressive, but it's enough to grip. And you get all the options, at least on this side, with the pocket clip. You don't really get them on that side. That might have been something they needed to upgrade. And I did like the pocket clip. I felt like on this end it carried it pretty deep. Another thing when I'm kind of talking about that one, when you can lighten a knife, lighten it. This is a fairly heavy, thick, good sized knife, but as you can see back here, the spacer is just sort of like Zytel or something like that, or just a piece of plastic. It's a lot lighter than using the steel that they did in this, or the metal backspacer that they used in that one. And this is a semi pass-through design right there. Makes it real easy to blow it out, clean it out. It is a liner lock. That was kind of something I was going through at the time with this one and that one. I've kind of since moved away from that in the knives that I carry, but I never felt like that was going to necessarily close on me, but I just went to stronger designs as far as lockup. I love this knife. I want to say the Cara II I carried for a long time, a really long time, but I think I carried this knife for about 2 years. Off and on with this Rat 1, but pretty much, you know, 2 years I was carrying, and I really did not like it when, you know, Kershaw discontinued it. And I wish, I don't know if they brought it back or if they've redesigned it and it's just very similar. I don't know. I haven't really been keeping up with it as much as I used to. But I really did like this knife, and I wish they'd bring it back or something equivalent thereof. The Rat 1. I love this knife from Ontario Knife Company. This is probably one of my all-time favorites. Aus 8 steel that has held up great, and you know, made in Taiwan. A lot of these knives, this one, this one, this one, this one, I believe that one, those are all made in China. This one's made in Taiwan. It has these This is Zytel, I believe is what it is. It's completely pass through, really keeps the knife light even though it's pretty good size. It's got a great pocket clip right here with all options all the way around. It is a liner lock, but I like this knife so much that I actually got it in a reincarnated form that I'll show you here in a moment, with a new locking system that I prefer. And it was just a great knife when I carried it. It's got a great blade shape to it, and this jimping I really like. It really digs in, and the Zytel could you know, dig in a little bit more. It could be a little bit more aggressive, but it still feels good in the hand. I wish this G10 or this jimping right here was a little bit more so, just so it'd lock in even more, but that's a nice little twirl right there. Keep your hand from going forward, and it really does lock in. I really like this knife. I carried it for quite a bit of time, interchangeably with the Tremor when I was going through the liner locks, but I really liked it, and that's why it has come back in another form. The Ganzo G704 with 440C steel. This was my first Axis lock knife, and I really liked it. It's a knockoff of a Benchmade knife that they distributed, I believe, through their Harley-Davidson brand, I believe. And I don't like paying for a name, but I do like paying for features. And I'm not knocking Benchmade in any way. If I could afford some of their knives, I would just go ape crap on them, you know, buying them up. But I can't afford those kind of knives, and this should be self-evident with what you see here before, which are fairly budget, you know, friendly knives. And for EDCing every day, you know, I say go with what you can afford, go with the best you can afford, but go with what you can afford, you know, like they always say. But for me, I want a knife that is an affordable knife, so that if it gets taken away from me in my line of work, that can't happen, going through metal detectors all the time and whatnot, or if it gets lost or something. I'm on the road all the time, always on the side of roads, something pops out of your pocket, you know, you never see it again. So if that is the case, going with a knife that did not cost you a lot, but still gave you a lot of features, is a good thing. And I probably would never let it go that I lost a Benchmade on the side of the highway, but probably wouldn't be too broken up if it was a Ganzo that I lost. So things I really liked about this knife, that is probably the most aggressive jimping I have ever seen in the knives that I have, and that is just some strong jimping. This is a good, it could be a little bit more aggressive, but a good aggressive G10. These are some really thick scales on some really thick frame, but it is full pass through, so makes it real nice to maintain and clean out. And I believe it has phosphor bronze bushings like many of the other knives, that one have, which just really make it you know, really nice and open really fast. And I'll give you a demonstration of that. You know, it really does. And I really like Axis locks, which this one introduced to me, just, you know, a certain effect. I like the pocket clip. It could ride a little bit more. Blade length is pretty good. It came real sharp from the factory, and I wore this knife out. The 440C is pretty good blade steel. This has a satin finish on it. But you know, you can just see how shiny that is. I had to touch it up pretty often, not because it would just wear out so much, but because, man, I was wearing it out. I was using this knife all the time, and you know, when I carried it, and I carried it for, God, seems like a year. I carried it about 3.5 years ago when I got it, and I carried for it about a year, and you know, it never let me down. And it's a real nice knife. And you know, I went through other you know, types of knives in between this one and the one I carry now, but I came back to it, as you're going to see, this one because of the way it was set up, and this one because of its locking system. So there was quite a bit of time between when I carried this Kershaw and when I went to this Kershaw. But I generally came back to Kershaw for that reason right there. Hinderer design. Just like with this one right here and this Cryo II, I do not care to pay for a name. But Hinderer Designs, making those zero tolerance knives, those are just some of the coolest knives I've ever seen. And they aren't real bad priced. If you're going to get a really nice knife but not have to spend, you know, an absolute fortune, I'd probably recommend those. But what I said about this Ganzo still rings true with this knife right here. I just don't care to pay for a name. I really like the features about it, like the disc right here, the deep carry pocket clip, which carries deeper over here, but I prefer it over there, and some of the other designs like the sort of titanium style siding and stuff like that, the coatings they put on it, and just the jimping that they use, which is similar, and the assisted opening, which is lightning fast in my opinion, and the liner locks like that are just so beefy, and like I was saying, the jimping that's just all over it that feels good, and the choil on there, which also operates as your lever for your assisted opening, and just the way it carries, it's just a really nice design knife. And you know, good on them for designing it that way, these Cryo IIs. But you know, I didn't have to pay all the money for a zero tolerance, and I got a lot of the same features, you know, with much reduced you know, cost basically in the blade steel, which is still good steel. I believe it's still the same as what's on the Tremor down here, and it holds up pretty well. And I carried this knife for a good long time as well after I got it. I had to wait a while for this to come out. The Cryo one was a nice knife, but it was more like this length, and I was really looking for something in this length because of what I've been using, you know, more recently when I got this. So I was really happy to see when they came out with it, and all the different designs that they've come out since with the Cryo II are really cool looking. And going through Kershaw's, you know, their catalog, and seeing some of the other Hinderer designs that are out there, as well as some of the designs from Emerson that they're coming out with. Man, I really would like to get one of those Emerson design knives. So good on Kershaw. Yeah, it's knocking off knife designs, but it's so that the little guys like us or like me can you know, afford them. You know, it's a nice knife, and I really enjoyed carrying it when I carried it. So how I went from that behemoth to this, I'll never know. But this little buck knife here was a present to me for one Christmas a couple years ago, and I really liked its design. This is some really aggressive G10 that's got some swooshes in it that lock in even more, and it has this nice upper piece. Both sides of these are stainless steel, I believe, and it's a back lock. It's just built like a tank. It really is. And this is my only knife that I've EDC'd. As you saw, these were just straight blades. That is a combo blade with this serrated section down here. And I really don't care for serrated blades. I really don't. If this had been me, I probably wouldn't have purchased it for myself. But you know, it was a nice gift, and I decided to give it a try, and I really liked it. It is very light, even though it's real bulky in these areas with all this steel and G10, and it doesn't have any pass through at all. It's got the spacers metal as well, but that makes up for how small it is. It feels real good in the hand. It's got a lot of heft to it. Wish it had some jimping back here, but it's a real affordable knife from Buck, a 316, I believe, is what this is saying. It's a real affordable knife from Buck, but it's got a lot of heft to it, and it's still got that lightness in your pocket. Like I would forget I even had it sometimes. The G10 is a little aggressive on the pocket, but it kept it locked in. And like what I said with these, working out along the side of the highway, you didn't have to worry about the knife coming out and getting lost. And it rode real deep in the pocket with this nice pocket clip. This was a real nice knife, micro knife in my opinion. I believe it's like a 2-inch blade, maybe a little bit over, maybe 2 1/4 from Buck. But I gave it a try, and I really liked it. And that, you know, that goes hand in hand with what I'm trying to show you here. You may be on going a certain way, a certain size that you like, of knife with certain features that you like, but it's always good to change it up from different locking mechanisms to different styles to different sizes. And now to the knife that I'm carrying right now, which I actually still have in my person because I've been carrying it all day. And this goes hand in hand with the features that I liked about the Rat 1 and the features, at least the locking system, that I liked from Ganzo. And it is a Ganzo G727M 440C blade steel. And this is just a, you can just see my sweat on there, apologize for that. Been carrying it all day, you know, and taking care of business, and it's got, you know, it just shows you how hard I'm on these knives and how well they hold up. So this is, as you can see, and from my video that I'll be coming out with, or already have come out with, this is very similar design, almost exactly like the Rat 1. It's basically the same lengths and same blade profile, and you know, it just, you know, just all the little nuances of it are you know, almost exact, except that this one has a liner lock and this one uses an axis lock like this 704. Now, I got this 704, like I said, 3.5 years ago, and I decided to give Ganzo another try after liking that knife so much. And it's kind of something Ganzo's known for, is kind of ripping off or taking other designs and making them their own and stuff like that, or just, you know, just giving you the option of having a knife that's a bit different, you know, at a lower cross point that has some of the same features. It's kind of what they're known for. And I really like the Rat 1 setup. And if Rat 1s had been made with, you know, stronger, you know, a G10, and it had an axis lock, I would have bought it from them. But this is just, I really like this knife. It's got some, you know, great jimping back here. I wish there was some jimping back there, but this G10 locks in pretty good, and I love that axis lock, full pass through, just like on the original. And you know, this thing just carries good. And I love those olive drab scales on their G10 scales. Those are just cool. In a stable of, you know, black G10, it's nice to have a little bit of color sometimes. So this one opens up real nice, just like the other one I got from Ganzo, and it's a nice knife. It has a real nice detent to it. Makes you feel confident in the locking system. So that just kind of shows you a little bit of the evolution, my evolution of knives that I carry and continue to carry. Sometimes I'll put these back into the rotation every now and again, but sometimes they get set on a knife, and you know, I may carry it for like 2 years, or I may carry it for a year, or I may just be absolutely in love with it and I've only been carrying it for about 2 months. So just, you know, giving you some options, showing you some stuff, some products from Kershaw, some stuff that used to be out there, some of the more affordable stuff from the bigger knife companies like Spyderco, you know, or you know, Hinderer products in a more affordable package, or Ganzo. You know, maybe you've never heard of Ganzo before, you give them a try. And some knife companies that have been around forever, like Buck, that have little gems that you may not even know about. So this was my video giving you some options and showing you some options in the knives that I've been carrying, the pocket knives that I've been carrying over the past 5 years. Thanks for watching.